My name is Amara. I grew up in poverty in West Africa with my mother Amina and my younger brother Tunde. Life was never easy, but we managed to survive with what little we had. My mother was a quiet woman who didn't talk much about her past, and over time I learned not to ask too many questions. By the time I turned 24, life had become even harder. My mother's health was getting worse, my brother depended on me for everything, and I was struggling every day just to keep us going. When my mother died, everything fell apart. There was no money, no support, and no clear direction. I was left alone to take care of my brother, and I wasn't prepared for that kind of responsibility. That was when my friend Zena stepped in. She had always been there during difficult times, but this time she came with what she called a solution. She told me about a wealthy family in Lagos, the Adeyemis, who were looking for a surrogate. According to her, the process was safe, private, and the payment was more than enough to solve my financial problems. At first, I refused because it didn't feel right, and I didn't trust something that sounded so easy. But my situation didn't improve. My brothers still needed school fees, we owed rent, and I had no stable income. After thinking about it for weeks and feeling the pressure of my reality, I finally agreed. Everything moved quickly after that. Zena arranged a meeting, and I traveled to Lagos. When I arrived at the Adeyemi's home on the island, I could tell immediately that their world was very different from mine. The environment was quiet, organized, and controlled. When I met Mr. Adeyemi, I felt something I couldn't explain at the time, but I ignored it and focused on why I was there. After a short discussion, we agreed on the arrangement. I would carry their child, and in return, they would take care of me financially. I was moved into a comfortable residence not far from their home. At first, things improved a lot. My brother's school fees were paid, I had access to proper health care, and I no longer worried about basic survival every day. Mr. Adeyemi would visit occasionally. He wasn't overly friendly, but he was not harsh either. Sometimes he asked simple questions, and other times he just sat quietly as if something was on his mind. A few months later, things started to change. Mr. Adeyemi found out that his wife was having an affair with their driver, Emeka, who also happened to be Zena's boyfriend. He handled the situation quietly, but Emeka lost his job and was taken away by people connected to the family. After that, Zena began to act differently. She avoided me, canceled visits, and became defensive whenever I mentioned anything related to the Adeyemis. Later, I understood why. Emeka was in serious trouble, and she needed money to help him. Out of desperation, she started looking for any information she could use to blackmail Mrs. Adeyemi. One day, during my pregnancy, I became very emotional and started crying for no clear reason. To calm myself, I brought out my mother's old photo album. It contained faded pictures from her past, and it always made me feel close to her. Zena came to comfort me and helped me arrange the photos. While going through them, she suddenly stopped at one picture. It showed my mother standing beside a woman she immediately recognized. She asked me if I knew who the woman was, and when I said no, she told me it was Mrs. Adeyemi. That moment changed everything. We both realized there was a connection, and we decided to confront her. When we spoke to Mrs. Adeyemi, she did not deny it. She told me directly that she was my aunt, my mother's sister. Hearing that made me feel like I finally had family again, but at the same time, something about her reaction didn't feel right. She was too calm, like she already knew who I was before that day. After that, I began to notice strange behavior around me. At the clinic, some of the staff looked at me differently, and I could hear quiet conversations that stopped when I got close. One nurse even asked me if I was the one working with the Adeyemis, and when I confirmed it, she went silent in a way that made me uncomfortable. Not long after, the truth started coming out. Mr. Adeyemi discovered that I was not just a surrogate, but the daughter of his wife's sister. He confronted Mrs. Adeyemi and demanded an explanation. At first, she claimed that my mother had died years ago and believed I had died with her. But as more questions were asked, her story began to fall apart. Then Mr. Adeyemi revealed something unexpected. He said he knew my mother when they were younger and had once loved her deeply. He had wanted to marry her, but something separated them, and he never saw her again. He didn't know she survived, and he didn't know she had a child. Eventually, the full truth came out. My mother had not died. She was rejected by her family after becoming pregnant out of wedlock, and the man responsible was Mr. Adeyemi himself. She was forced to leave and raise me alone, completely cut off from her family. Mrs. Adeyemi knew this all along and chose to keep it a secret. In the end, the situation became clear in the worst possible way. I was not just carrying a child for a wealthy couple. I was carrying my own father's child. After everything that happened, everything I discovered, and everything that had been hidden from me, I was left with one question I still cannot answer. Where do I go from here?